about numbers. It's not how I did it. Why? Search your recorder, sweetheart. Let me show you art. Born with a grin in the head from a lot of lead. Every step, every stream, every shot. Gesturing hands, cold point schemes. Build my island on ashes and dreams. Sky navigate, he never knew. The shoe was rigged and the sky turned blue. Watched him fall like a prayer to now one sword, laughing as he died. All of this is my murder born. Names in blood, no return. Very deep, can't ignore. Feed the pigs, this is war. This is my murder born. Stories told in guts and corn. Every page a silent scream of still the king of this dream. From the alley floor, you begged for food, I gave him more. A week of steak and silverware that sealed the door with cold dead air. Red and water for 7 days, let him rot in his own decay. Clutch for help, but I just smiled. Watch the hunger reap the child. Down the stairs, raided my set, then down he fell. His bones all bent, choked him slow. Told him why, wasted my kindness, now die. This like murder porn. Plastic bags and sledgehammer thunder. Crack the bone, grind it under. Ziploc tombs riddled with names. Built my island on ashes and dreams. This is my murder porn. Every soul a twisted spore. Confessions dressed in white attire. Smiles that hide the razor wire. This is my murder porn. Final breath, the last resort. Pull up a chair, record the pain. Repeat the name, repeat the name. They think I'm insane. I just think I'm better. You wanted truth for a little while. So then the real rage. So I plunge out there is none. The game's not over, it's just begun. Voices whisper, demons sort of fall through my murder report. This is my murder report.
Murder Report, an original novel by James Acosta. At this point, it was around noon. Carol and Sam had enough of dealing with all these ghosts, spirits, and being haunted by it. This was the final straw. They were both ready to wrap all of this up once and for all. Carol called her boss and explained to him what had happened to her home. Her boss usually mailed her checks there, and because it was now gone, she was going to have to get a temporary mailbox. Her boss reminded her that Max was still a part of the assignment and she still had to pick him up. He also promised her more than enough cash to pay for a brand new home if the story she had been working on happened to become big and successful. That and the deadline looming over her was another reason for her to hurry and finish this up, as if she really needed any more reasons. About 45 minutes later, all three of them once more set up for the interview. "We're all set, ready to go," Carol said, as she was very anxious to wrap this all up. Joe lay flat on the cold cell floor, strapped tightly in a straitjacket once again. "You see," he began casually, "I just can't seem to stay out of trouble. After all the power went out and you all left, I got a little bored. So for fun, I spat in the guard's face. He didn't take it well, beat me with his baton a few times, slammed me into the ground, and stuck me back in this jacket. Slept in it for days. My back's been killing me. So now—" "Stop it," Carol snapped, baring her teeth. "I don't want to hear your poor me routine. We're finishing this interview now. That damn ghost that loves you, who's tried to kill me, Sam, and injured Max, is still haunting me. I know what I saw, so let's wrap this up and put an end to it." Max shouted next, pointing an accusing finger at Joe. "Yeah, I broke my damn leg because your psycho spirit girlfriend spooked me in the damn shower. My life's been a mess ever since I heard your sick stories." Joe glanced at Sam, waiting for him to join in. Sam didn't disappoint. "Don't even get me started." Joe shrugged. "Well, seems like everyone's really eager for the grand finale. Fine. But don't think I haven't been haunted too. You have no idea." "We don't care," they all shouted in unison. Shaken but trying to keep composure, Joe took a deep breath. "Anyway, about 6 months passed since my last murder. The ghost, every damn day, they'd torment me. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think. They succeeded all right. I regretted killing them. One day I'm trying to eat a bowl of cereal and the ghosts keep messing with me." Carol, despite herself, found that detail oddly comical. "I knew I had to come up with a plan, so while I was eating it hit me. I needed to go back on the dark web. I needed to find a group where other serial killers gathered online. Anonymously, of course. After I finished breakfast, I got online and started searching. It took a couple of days, but I found an online chat room. There I found other murderers like myself. You might wonder how we knew if someone was full of shit about their kills. Each member had to show proof before joining. A photo of them with their recently murdered victim was enough. I used some of my video footage to prove I was legit. Joe kept staring at the ceiling as he spoke, still lying flat on his back. He couldn't look at Carol or the others. Sam interrupted. Wait a minute. How did you know an FBI agent wasn't in the group, pretending, waiting to gather evidence and then bust you and your sicko friends? Joe smiled. You're right. We didn't know. I guess you could say we got lucky. I won't go into detail here, of course. There are certain rules you don't break on the dark web. Let's just say we have ways to cover our tracks pretty well. Makes it really hard to get busted. He licked his lips oddly, then continued. Anyway, through a few people I met in the group, I was introduced to two individuals, a crooked preacher and a psychic. Now, when I say crooked preacher, I don't mean one of those sick fucks who hurts kids. I mean corrupt in other ways. He was a thief who blessed a known serial killer and claimed he could grant them access to heaven, regardless of how many people they killed. The psychic was corrupt because he helped serial killers any way he could. Turns out I wasn't the only one haunted by victims. To sum it up, I knew I could trust them, so I had them both come to my island and help me banish the ghosts. The psychic convinced the ghost to leave me alone, and the preacher cleansed and blessed my house. Well, it sort of worked. In the end, the psychic said the ghost wouldn't leave completely because of the curse. They had unfinished business. Instead, they would just go elsewhere on the island, do their own thing, but if I killed again, the deal would be off. They wouldn't stop haunting me until I was dead. Carol glared at him. Well, gee, I guess we all know what happened with that deal. Yes, I know I screwed it up. But listen, at the time when they helped me, I had decided I was done with murdering. I didn't want to be haunted anymore. I'd gotten away with it for so long. I was rich after all. I had everything I wanted. Except one thing. I wanted a wife. Over the years, I was so caught up in planning murders that being married was an afterthought, but I figured it was time to look for the one woman I'd spend the rest of my life with. As Carol listened, a chill ran through her. She didn't like it and tried to ignore it. The story felt like a mess, rambling and disjointed. She spoke up. Look, Joe, I don't want to hear about your damn love life. Just tell us about the last person you murdered. She glared at him again. My dear, I am. I promise this leads to that, and I promise no surprise murders up my sleeve. He was about to continue when Max suddenly screamed, the sound ringing through the room and hurting everyone's ears. She's here! I can see her! She's standing right in front of me! Leave me alone, please! Max begged. Sam was alarmed and scanned the room for any signs of ghosts, but saw none. Max let out another scream, then began shaking and convulsing in his wheelchair, making strange gurgling noises. Carol watched, frozen in fear, thinking Max might be having a stroke or heart attack. After about 30 seconds, it stopped. Then, to Sam and Carol's horror, Max spoke, but it wasn't his voice. It was a woman's. Oh, hello, Joey. How are you? It's been so long since I've been able to talk to you. Being a spirit and trying to ward others away from you consumes tremendous energy, but while possessing a human body, I can maintain my energy much easier. I wish you had never killed me, Joe. I have loved you for so long, even before you killed me. Carol was in shock, but forced herself to stay calm. Joe just stared at Max, confused. Before he could speak, Sam stepped forward, concern etched on his face. Well, shit, Joe. Looks like that Melanie ghost who's been haunting and trying to kill us on multiple occasions has possessed our friend. She's been after us even when we weren't here to do the interview. Joe smiled widely. Well, this is an interesting turn of events. So that means she and I can actually communicate now, right? His tone was intrigued. A cold, creepy voice issued from Max's mouth. Yes, Joe, exactly right. We've had to follow you even in death. Or have you forgotten the curse placed on you? Melanie yelled through Max. Joe replied, interested. No, I haven't forgotten. I've been haunted by you and the other victims ever since. Just like you said it would happen. Carol tried to calm herself with deep breaths. This was now a problem. They had no holy water left to try to rid Max's body of Melanie's spirit. She sensed they still needed to finish the story. As if it were clockwork, Sam glanced at Carol, nodded, then moved behind Max's wheelchair. Placing both hands over Max's mouth, Sam tried to silence him. Max bit the palm of Sam's right hand. The son of a bitch bit me! Raising his left hand to slap Max, Sam stopped when Carol shouted, Sam, wait, he's possessed. He didn't really do that. Melanie did. Sam froze, then looked at Max and said, Shit, you're right. My bad. I just lost my cool. He examined his hand, wincing, then went into thought mode, a look Carol recognized well. After a moment, he said, I got an idea. I'll be back soon. Look, I know you don't want to be alone, especially now, but this is important. Try to hang on. With that, Sam left the room. Carol nervously muttered, Great, now I'm alone with a serial killer and a friend who's possessed. The spirit voice spoke again. Well, Joe, we have serious catching up to do. I've been trying to protect you from these three. That's why I've tried to kill them so many times. But I've used so much spiritual energy I need to recharge. That woman has too much strength for me to possess her now. If I could, I would help you break out of this place so we could be together again. But I'm weak for now. Once I regain my energy, I can do that easily. Carol looked at Max, who wore a twisted smile. She thought, I can't believe I'm about to argue with a ghost. Still, she said, Don't be absurd. You can't break him out of here. He'd be shot, tackled, or tasered before he got out. Max, possessed, replied, Oh dear, you'd be surprised what I'm capable of. You've already seen it from past experiences. Carol gave a small frown. Oh yeah, that's true. How could I forget? She decided to stay quiet and wait for Sam's return. Possessed Max turned back to Joe. Well, Joe, don't let me keep you from your story. Please, continue. He smiled oddly. Joe laughed nervously. Very well, where was I? Oh, yes. I was tired of being alone. The urge to murder still gnawed at me, but I felt if I found the love of my life, maybe it would end that urge. So I decided to try dating. I didn't want to be haunted by those ghosts again. At 35, a rich bachelor, I thought dating would be easy. But I found many stuck-up women in L.A. I tried dating sites and speed dates, but struck out every time. I also went to bars, thinking my wealth and status would attract women. Sometimes I announced parties at my mansion and invited everyone to come by yacht. That usually worked, at least one woman by night's end. But I lacked social skills. I'd say the wrong thing, and before a kiss, champagne would be splashed in my face, and she'd walk away. I had no friends either. It's true, money cannot buy happiness. I'd been trying to find a girlfriend for 6 months, with no luck and no one to ask for advice. I was about to give up hope. My urge to kill grew stronger. I knew I didn't want to deal with those ghosts anymore. Little did I know my life was about to change. Well, for a little while at least. One Sunday morning, bored, I wanted to pick me up beyond my usual coffee. I took my yacht to downtown L.A. and went into a popular coffee shop. After ordering a strong cappuccino, I noticed a flyer on the notice board near the entrance. Deep-sea scuba diving lessons for beginners and intermediates. I jotted down the number, sat at a table, and called to set up an appointment for my first lesson about a week later. Perfect timing to prepare. I hoped a new hobby would distract me and lessen my murderous urges. When the time came for my first lesson, I met Brenda, the instructor. She was a hot blonde in her early 30s, about 5'6", fit and stunning, like an angel sent just for me. The moment I saw Brenda, I knew I had to have her. She had to be the one. I was determined to do whatever it took. Weeks of lessons followed, covering everything we needed for scuba diving. Finally, on the day of our deep-sea dive, we boarded a boat with about 20 students, heading out to the ocean's middle. I decided I had to make my move. If I didn't, I might never see her again. Nervous but determined, I approached her. When I approached her, I decided to just be myself. I thanked her for teaching the class so well and told her how excited I was for our first big dive out in the ocean. Brenda smiled and said she enjoyed teaching, but added that she needed a well-paying job to support herself and her daughter. She was a single mother. Her daughter's father had passed away, so the girl's grandparents watched her while Brenda worked. I told her that must be tough, and I said if she ever needed help, she could call me. I gave her my number then and there. She thanked me again, and I didn't speak to her for the rest of the trip. I figured there was a chance she'd never call, but fate, it seemed, was on my side. When the time came for the big dive, we suited up and jumped overboard one by one. We dove as a group, you know, the usual. Afterward, we returned to the docks and went our separate ways. I was too exhausted to sail back to my island, so I checked into my usual motel for the night. I was just about to fall asleep when my phone rang. I hardly ever got calls. I didn't have any real friends, so I was confused. I picked up, and to my surprise, it was Brenda. She sounded desperate. She had a flat tire and was stranded in a rough part of town with her daughter. I told her I'd be there as soon as I could. I got dressed and headed out. As Carol listened, she felt a weird chill crawl up her spine again. She wondered if she might be coming down with a fever or a cold. Joe was about to continue when the cell door opened. Sam had returned. His hand was bandaged, and he carried a roll of duct tape in one hand and a bunch of bananas in the other. "Sorry I took so long," Sam said. "Got stuck in traffic. Anyway, here's my solution to shut that damn ghost up." He walked over to Max, tore a strip of duct tape, and slapped it across Max's mouth. Then he taped Max's arms and legs together just to be sure. Satisfied, Sam sat down and peeled a banana. Carol looked puzzled. "Sam, I've got to ask, what's the big deal? Even if Max is possessed, he can't just leap out of the chair." Sam paused, banana in hand. "Exactly, but we can't underestimate these ghosts just because Max's leg is broken. I've heard some weird shit about people being possessed. I'm not taking any chances." Carol nodded grimly. "Well, we better hurry. Melanie's just waiting to get her strength back. She claims all hell will break loose once she does. And I'm sure your little stunt just pissed her off." Sure enough, Max began grunting and gurgling beneath the tape. "Well, shit, guess you're right," Sam muttered, shrugging. Carol turned back to Joe. "Keep going." Joe nodded. "So Brenda gave me directions, and I found her in about 20 minutes. It was too dark to work on the tire, so I offered to take her and her daughter back to her parents' house. I told her I'd have the car towed to a shop the next morning and that I'd cover the cost. She was thrilled. That was the first thing I did that really impressed her. The next day I followed through, just like I said. To thank me, Brenda invited me to breakfast and insisted on paying. From that day on, we talked every day. I never mentioned how rich I was. I figured that might hurt my chances. After about a month of daily calls and emails, I asked her out. She said yes. I decided it was time she saw my mansion. I knew she'd find out how wealthy I was eventually, so one Friday night I took the yacht to L.A. She was waiting for me at the docks. Her parents were watching her daughter for the night. She looked happy to see me. I took her hand and led her onto the yacht. Joe was interrupted again when Carol abruptly stood up. "Look, I get this is an interview, but I can't shake the feeling that the longer you go on, the worse things are getting. You heard what Melanie said. She's recharging. I've been asking you to hurry, and honestly, I'm starting to think you want her to come back. Maybe you're stalling." Suddenly, the lights flickered off. A loud rattling noise shook the cell windows. When the lights came back on, Carol threw up her arms. "Do you see what I mean? That wasn't an earthquake." Muffled laughter came from Max. "You get it. We're running out of time," Carol shouted. Sam folded his arms. "Yep, she's right, man. Speed it up." Joe frowned. "Fine, I'll spare the rest of the details. It's a damn shame." Anyway, 3 months later, I found out I killed her for nothing. That's haunted me ever since. It's hard to believe, but it's true. It was the only time I ever felt remorse for a murder. Suddenly, Max began violently stirring in his chair. The tape tore off his mouth, and Melanie's voice burst out. "You dirty bastard! I loved you! You said you loved me, and you lied! How could you say that?" Before she could go on, Sam marched over and said, "Nope, not doing this again." He punched Max square in the head, knocking him out cold. "Sorry, Max. You'll feel that tomorrow, but I think you'll understand." Sam folded his arms, looked at Joe, and said calmly, "Go on." Joe took a moment, then continued. "This has got to be one of the hardest interviews I've ever done with all the interruptions. Anyway, the day before I killed her, I woke up around noon and noticed she wasn't in bed. I took a shower, got ready, and went to find her. I figured she'd be in the kitchen or living room. I found her in the living room on her phone. I only caught the end of the call. She said, 'I don't think he suspects a thing at all,' and then hung up. When she saw me, she looked like she'd been caught stealing cookies. I didn't want to be rude or intrusive, but I heard what I heard. I couldn't stop thinking she was talking to another man. I tried to convince myself otherwise, but I couldn't. My mind just isn't wired that way. Soon I was certain she was cheating. I was hurt, crushed. I loved her, and she betrayed me. My urge to kill came back stronger than ever, and I gave in to it. I pretended like nothing was wrong, played it cool. I suggested we go diving the next day at a special spot I knew. She agreed, totally unaware. I kissed her on the cheek and left her in the kitchen. That night I prepped everything. I grabbed a heavy chain from the garage and a large rock I'd found on the island, loaded both onto the yacht. The next day we sailed to the secluded dive spot. No witnesses for miles. Around noon we arrived. As we geared up, I kissed her again, this time on the lips. It was a deep, passionate kiss. It would be the last. She took off her necklace, a locket with a picture of her and her daughter. She didn't want to lose it. I promised to keep it safe. I opened it, saw the photo, and stored it in the yacht's glove compartment. Then we walked to the edge of the boat. That's when I made my move. I accused her of cheating and said she broke my heart. She looked confused and tried to explain, but I kept cutting her off. Then I calmed down, gave her a hug, and told her I had a surprise. I asked her to turn around. She did. I pulled out a knife from my belt and held it near her. She must have seen it. She spun around with a look of alarm. I slashed her arm. Blood poured out. She screamed, asking why I'd done it. I didn't answer. I tied the chain to the rock, then fastened the other end to her wrist. She screamed, begged me to stop. I didn't care. Whatever love I felt was gone. I lifted her up and threw her overboard. She tried to swim, reach the boat, but I dropped the rock in after her. The water was shark-infested. Her bleeding arm would attract them. She sank fast. I'll never forget the look on her face as she disappeared below. Then I raised the anchor and fled. It was the most convenient murder I'd ever pulled off. No cleanup, no trace. But once I got home, I realized I'd made some big mistakes. The first was her phone. It was sitting on the kitchen table. I got curious and decided to check her voicemail. She didn't have a password on her phone. Foolish, really. I wish I hadn't done it, but I listened anyway. Everything seemed normal until the final message. It was from someone at a party planning store. Turned out Brenda had hired a party planner. She was organizing a surprise birthday party for me. That's when it all clicked. That's why she'd said, "I don't think he suspects a thing." I had murdered the love of my life over a goddamn assumption. I dropped to my knees and let out a blood-curdling cry of rage and agony, and right on cue those ghosts came back, like they were waiting to pile on my misery. I panicked, worried Brenda's family might trace her phone back to my island. First thing I did was run to the garage, grab a sledgehammer, and smash the phone to bits. But it didn't matter. Within 2 weeks, the ghosts were tormenting me, worse than ever. They drove me past the edge. They yanked me out of bed, tripped me in hallways, pulled food from the fridge so it spoiled, shattered every window in my mansion. I even started ripping out my own hair. That's how I went bald. They did everything they could to break me down. Eventually I snapped. The guilt of killing Brenda and the endless haunting finally pushed me to confess. I sailed to LA and walked into the police station. I broke down and told every cop there that I had murdered at least 8 people. They thought I was crazy, of course, and brought me in for questioning. They asked if I had proof. I told them exactly where to find it. They flew me by helicopter to my island. I gave directions as we went. Once there, I showed them the trophies I'd kept over the years. I don't even know how long I was killing. It all blurs together, but the evidence was there. I was arrested and my estate was frozen. The FBI got involved. They tore the place apart, looking for more bodies, more clues. They even sent scouting teams to search the island and surrounding areas. Like I'd be dumb enough to bury corpses in my own backyard like some amateur, Joe said with sarcastic disdain. He paused for breath, then continued. As you both know, my case made headlines. The jury ruled me too insane to stand trial. That's how I dodged the death penalty and ended up here, locked in a mental hospital. The victims' families were furious that I wasn't executed, but after several psych evaluations, the ruling stood. Life in the funny farm, life with the ghosts, and that, Carol, is the end of my story. There are no more murders to confess. Like I said before, we're all caught up. I'm here, and you're here to finish your interview. The ghosts will still haunt me, but maybe your piece will finally make you a big-time reporter. You're talking to the most infamous murderer of your generation, after all. So, I bid you and your friends farewell. Joe gave a wide, unsettling smile. Carol sat frozen, deeply disturbed by all she'd heard. Something didn't sit right with her, an odd feeling she couldn't quite name. But whatever it was, she was ready to get out of that room. She stood, her body stiff and sore from the long interview. Sam looked just as ready to leave. Carol began packing her things when her phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor. As she knelt to pick it up, her necklace fell from her neck and landed beside it. The locket popped open from the impact, revealing the photo inside. Joe's eyes locked onto it. His jaw dropped. "Holy shit!" he yelled. "This can't be possible!" Okay, Slash-a-Holics, this has been Chapter 11 of Murder Report by James Acosta. Really fun chapter. I can't believe we're almost at the end. There's only one chapter left. Some big revelations came tonight. And I'm guessing that her mom, like I said way back in earlier chapters, might have been a victim of his. And it's kind of looking that way now. I don't know for sure. I have not read ahead. I'm going to find out when you all find out. But Joe seemed pretty shocked. So, yes, great chapter. Great cliffhanger. Thank you all so much for listening. And thank you, James, for giving me the opportunity to narrate this on the channel. If anybody listening right now would like to support the channel, you can do so by just subscribing, clicking the like button, dropping a comment. That all helps out with the algorithm. And if you want to go a step further, you could do a super chat comment. You could do a PayPal or Cash App donation, one-time tip, or become a Patreon member or channel member here on the channel. All those things help keep this channel going and growing for years to come. But honestly, the best thing you can do is just spread the word. so more people know about the 80s slasher library. Yep, that's it for now. Everybody have a great weekend. Be excellent to each other, and try to stay sane inside insanity. I'll see you next time.
It's about numbers. It's about how I did it. Why? Search your recorder, sweetheart. I'm sure you aren't. Born with a grin in the head from a mind. I planned every step, every stream, every shot. Gesturing hands, cold blooded schemes. Build my island on ashes and dreams. Sky down the gate, he never knew. The shoe was rigged and the sky turned blue. Watched him fall like a prayer to now blind sword, laughing as he died. All of this is my murder born. Names in blood, no return. Very deep, can't ignore. Feed the pigs, this is war. This is my murder born. Stories told in guts and corn. Every page a silent scream. I'm still the king of this dream. From the alley floor, you begged for food, I gave him more. A week of steak and silverware that sealed the door with cold dead air. Red and wine for 7 days. Let him rot in his own decay. Cried for help, but I just smiled. Watched the hunger reap the child. Down the stairs, made him my set. Then down he fell, his bones all bent. Choked him slow, told him why. He wasted my kindness, now die. That's my murder porn. Plastic bags and sludge in my thunder. Crack the bone, grind it under. Ziploc tombs riddled with names. Built my island on ashes and dreams. This is my murder porn. Every soul a twisted spore. Confessions dressed in white attire. Smiles that hide the razor wire. This is my murder porn. Final breath, the last resort. Pull up a chair, record the pain. Repeat the name, repeat the name. They think I'm insane. I just think I'm better. You wanted truth for a little photo. It's like that. The real me. So I plunge, there is none. The game's not over, it's just begun. Voices whisper, demons sort of fall through my murder report. This is my murder report. This is my murder report. And I'm still the king of this dream. They think the name of the murder report. This is my 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 murder